Last month we took a look at the upcoming AMD Ryzen 3000 series because they were making waves, promising better clock speeds and more cores than Intel's current i9 chip, and the stats certainly seem to back up those claims, showing better single-threaded and multi-threaded performance than Intel's flagship. But as with prior AMD hardware, more power doesn't inherently mean better performance, and that's what we're going to look at today, how the Ryzen 3000 series, namely the 3900X, performs for gaming. Now interestingly enough, the performance difference between the Ryzen and the i9 are marginal, but overall the i9 still manages to come out on top with a slightly higher frame rate, but only slightly. That said, that isn't consistent either. Certain games, Monster Hunter Worlds and CSGO being two examples, actually perform better with Ryzen. Whether this is due to general optimization or if the Ryzen's 12 cores help with CPU-intensive games, I couldn't honestly say, but it means that the 3900X is no slouch regardless, but it is circumstantial. What the results show here is quite interesting because whilst the 3900X might lag slightly behind the i9 for raw gaming performance, the 12 cores make it far more beneficial for intensive multitask performance, so streaming, video editing, encoding, 3D rendering, and so on. So I used to have mixed feelings about Samsung's tablets. I think they're great and I consistently stick to them, but good lord, they used to have so many models coming out at once that it was overwhelming if you were considering an upgrade. Now Samsung seem to have slowed down as of late, allowing their tabs to stand out a bit more with a bit more distinction between them, which brings me to the Galaxy Tab S5e. So right off the bat this thing looks gorgeous thanks to its big screen and tiny bezel, made even sleeker thanks to ditching the dedicated home button at the bottom of the screen. Now that specifically may have happened years and tablets ago for all I know, but regardless it keeps the thing sleek. The screen itself is a 10.5-inch AMOLED with a resolution of 2650 by 1440, giving you a crisp image with great colour and contrast. And to complement that is a 4-speaker setup featuring Dolby Atmos support, so watching videos on this thing will be a treat. It also has a massive 7040 mAh battery. And I say massive because I'm so used to modern phones hovering around the 3000 mAh mark, and I know tablets do take a lot more power, but even so by tablet standards that's still quite impressive. Like the previous model, the S5e uses DeX, which is a modified version of Android that acts more like a PC, and when paired with a large screen and solid performance makes this thing very versatile. I couldn't honestly say whether this thing could outright replace a laptop if you do intensive work, but if you're just looking for something straightforward for light workloads, pair the S5e with a keyboard and you have yourself a great alternative. And finally, ASUS has released a new line of Vivo Books in a select few countries with the VivoBook 14 and 15, which are both due for a worldwide release very soon. This month we'll take a look at the VivoBook 14. Now we'll go straight to aesthetics first, as it's the least important but most noticeable aspect. Muted but smart, and the Vivo 14's screen is a comfortable 14 inches but looks far larger and spacious thanks to the tiny bezel. It's an understated design, which is nice, smart and spacious. But now onto the more important stuff, the 14-inch screen has a resolution of 1920 by 1080 and a 60Hz refresh rate, which is standard stuff, and for the Vivo 14 specifically, you have a choice of an Intel i3 or i5 CPU, 8GB of RAM, and 512GB SSD. So nothing extraordinary. It's probably obvious from the specs and the visual design that this thing is a workhorse, built to last for work and nothing particularly taxing. So 8GB of RAM and an SSD serves that purpose quite well. Furthering that point, it's light and compact, making it portable, and thanks to the SSD, Windows will boot up in a flash. So the ASUS VivoBook 14 does what it needs to do really, it's a solid work laptop. As the newer models trickle out to the rest of the world, we can take a look at the Vivo 15 next and see how it compares. CeX.